salamat sa pakikinig. E-comment sa baba ang storya na gusto nyong marinig. Huwag kalimutang mag-subscribe. The Wailing in the Dark, a Fort Santiago ghost story. The dungeons of Fort Santiago are steeped in blood, pain, and unspeakable horror. Even now, as tourists shuffle through the crumbling stone corridors, the air remains thick with sorrow. The old prison cells reek of damp rot, and the cold, unrelenting darkness clings to the walls like a curse. But those who dare to linger, those who dare to listen, sometimes hear things that should not be heard by the living. One such tale belongs to Miguel Santos, a local historian who had spent years documenting the history of the fort. He was no stranger to the atrocities committed there, no stranger to the cruel fate of those who perished within those walls. Yet even he was unprepared for what lay in wait for him one fateful night. Miguel had received special permission to stay inside the dungeons past closing hours, hoping to record ambient sounds for a documentary. With only a flashlight and a voice recorder, he descended into the bowels of the fort, his footsteps echoing against the stone. The deeper he went, the colder it became. The air was heavy, almost suffocating, as if the very walls were watching him. As he reached the lowest chamber, where prisoners were once left to drown in rising tides, he felt it, a whisper against his ear, chilling and breathy. He spun around, his flashlight trembling in his grip. Nothing, only the suffocating darkness staring back at him. Brushing off his unease, he set his recorder down and began speaking about the history of the place. But as he played back the recording, his blood turned to ice. In between his own words, there was something else. A voice, ragged, desperate. "Help! Me!" His breath hitched. The voice was faint, but unmistakably there. Swallowing his fear, he pressed record again. "Is someone here?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. For a long moment, only silence answered. Then the temperature dropped suddenly, his breath turning into mist. And then, a scream. A long, tormented wail echoed through the dungeon, filling every corner of the chamber with gut-wrenching agony. It was the sound of countless souls crying out in anguish, their pain reverberating through time. His flashlight flickered violently, casting erratic shadows on the damp walls. Panicked, Miguel grabbed his recorder and bolted for the stairs, his heart pounding against his ribs. But the shadows were shifting, moving. Something unseen brushed past him, fingers icy as death grazing his arm. He could hear footsteps, fast and shuffling, chasing him up the stairs. As he reached the exit, the heavy iron door slammed shut behind him with a deafening clang. The air outside was thick with Manila's humid night, but he could still feel the chill on his skin. When he later reviewed his recording, his heart almost stopped. After his hurried breaths and frantic footsteps, there was a final whisper, one that sent a dagger of terror into his soul. "Don't leave me." No one knows for sure who or what spoke that night, but some say that if you listen closely in the dead of night, the wailing in the dungeons never truly stops.